Hello and welcome back to Doctor Who, The Cancelled Years. In this video, we'll be covering Series 4 of The Pyramid, so let's get started. Series 4 would have been the fourth and final series of The Pyramid. This would be the first and only season for showrunner Chris Chibnall. Chibnall decided that it was time to give the series a refresh of sorts, as he felt the show was becoming stale under Cornell. He divided up a plan which would act as a continuing arc of sorts. His idea was to somehow send the Pyramid team back in time to 1955 and to America. This would result in a whole new take on the series, with the main goal being to somehow find a way to send the team back to 2005. With the change in showrunner came a new title sequence. These new titles were vastly different from the previous ones. They would now feature blurred out shots of the main cast in black and white, with a few shots of Earth to go along. And now, let's get to the episodes. The first episode would have been Yesterday's Life, written by Chris Chibnall. This story is basically the one that sets up the rest of the season. The story begins in 2005 with the Pyramid team tracking down some aliens. Then all of a sudden they find themselves in America in 1955. It turns out they were sent back in time by a weeping angel, and with no way back to 2005, they're stuck in the past. The story sees the Pyramid trio trying to survive 1950s America as they try to find a base of operations. They soon discover a secret alien organisation, much like theirs, named Voltakin. They make contact with the leader of Voltakin, Captain Thomas Cook, and ask him if Voltakin can help them. We also learn a bit about Voltakin and who they are. They're essentially an American version of the Pyramid, but at the same time, they're more likely to kill aliens than take them in. The Pyramid team explain who they are and their backstory. After convincing Thomas that they're really from 2005, they're offered a place at Voltakin and a workshop where they can work on making a machine that can send them back to 2005. And now for the rest of the season, usually in the opening and beginning scenes, we see the Pyramid team constructing a time gateway that'll send them back to their time when it's complete. The second episode would have been The Weapon Cartel, written by Helen Rayner. The story would have been about a group of spirits named the Hash taking over the bodies of a mob family and transporting alien weaponry across the earth. We would have saw the Pyramid team and Voltakin attempting to stop the Hash and taking back the weapons before they're lost forever. This would have been more of a visual type of story and would have saw the Pyramid team fully embracing the 1950s. The third episode would have been Adam, written by Catherine Tregenna. This story would have been pretty much the same as it is in our own universe. All of the flashback stuff between Jack and Gray is given to Bernice, where we learn that Bernice had a sister named Samantha. However, all of the stuff between Bernice and Samantha is limited to this story. This is due to the fact that Chibnall was saving this stuff for the next season, which never came to be. The fourth episode would have been The Bloody Dagger, written by Phil Ford. This would have been a full-on murder mystery type of story with no alien threats. It's just a traditional murder story with the Pyramid team. The murderer turns out to be one of the people from Voltakin. His backstory is a rather cliched one, the usual bullied at school and swore to take revenge one day type of story. The story plays out as a homage to a lot of American detective series, and while a bit of a dud, it's a good character piece for our characters. The fifth episode would have been The Night of Our Lives, written by Chris Chibnall. Like the last story, there is no alien threat, but this time there is no threat at all. This story is very character focused and simply just sees our team enjoying life. We see the Pyramid team going out for the night and doing many things, such as going to a club, bowling, a movie and a diner. However, that's not the main focus of the story. The main focus is Bernice and Chris. Throughout the story, we see Chris asking Thomas for advice, as he's decided he's going to propose to Bernice. Together with Thomas and Jennifer, they're able to plan out the proposal to happen in a nearby park. And the story ends with the proposal where Chris asks the question and Bernice says yes. The 6th episode would have been The Lost Sontaran, written by Joseph Lidster. This story would have saw the return of the Sontarans, who were last seen in Season 40's A Third Opposition. The story would have been split into 2 ongoing plots. The first plot sees a Sontaran being taken in by Voltakin. We learn his name is Darks, and he's a traitor to the 12th Sontaran battle fleet, as he fled the war in fear. Now his old team are after him to kill him as a traitor. And the second plot sees Bernice and Chris planning out their wedding. At the end of the story, they're able to convince Darks' old fleet to leave him be. We learn that sometimes a clone isn't perfect and has different ideas, and can also stop believing in the glory for the Sontaran Empire. Darks is one of those Sontarans, but that doesn't make his life worthless. If anything, he's unique. At the end of the story, Darks' life is spared and he's offered a place at Voltakin. The 7th episode would have been The Wedding, written by Chris Chibnall. As the title of the story implies, this story is the wedding of Bernice and Chris. The story sees Voltakin and Jennifer helping to plan the wedding, with Jennifer acting as bridesmaid and Thomas acting as best man. It's a very bog standard wedding episode and doesn't feel like the Pyramid at all. It just sees the day before the wedding itself, and a party after the wedding. The final episode would have been The Decaying Army, written by Chris Chibnall. This story would have marked the end of the season-long arc of the team being stranded in the 1950s. The time gate is nearly complete, however Voltakin is about to come up against their biggest threat yet. This story sees the return of the Lampsai from Season 33's The Living Light. After trying a peaceful solution last time they were on Earth, they've come back in higher numbers and are planning a full-on takeover. The story sees Bernice and Chris working with the people of Voltakin to stop the Lampsai and try and wipe out their army, but to no avail, as once one person dies, there's now more Lampsai. Meanwhile, Jennifer and Thomas are rushing to complete the time gate so that the team can escape to 2005 once the invasion is over. Eventually, the Lampsai divert their attacks to taking down the biggest threats in America, starting with Voltakin. The Pyramid team and what remains of Voltakin are trapped in the base as the Lampsai close in. As the situation becomes more dangerous, the time gate fully powers online. However, it's unstable, and unless the team go now, they'll be trapped forever in the 1950s. Thomas tells the team that he's the only one left in Voltakin. He tells them to go through, and that he'll finish the Lampsai once and for all. The 3 of them say their goodbyes and jump through the gateway just in time as it closes off for good. Thomas then proceeds to leak gas into the Voltakin base as the Lampsai close in on him. He prepares to strike a match and says, "This is for Earth," and the match strikes, blowing up the base and killing both him and the Lampsai. The story ends in 2005 with the Pyramid team back in the present. They discover through some old newspapers and some research of what Thomas did, and at the end of the episode, the team are on top of the roof and they toast a drink to him. And the episode ends with the screen fading out and the words "The End?" appear on the screen. The episode was originally meant to air without that "The End" screen. However, after the transmission of episode 5, the BBC announced that the show would not be renewed for a 5th season. or at least not for a while, so the new ending was the last minute addition. And that concludes Series 4 of The Pyramid, a very unpopular season, and was considered the worst of the 4. And with this also came the end of The Pyramid. It was a very mixed bag of a show, with some hating it and some liking it. So join me next time for season 43 of Doctor Who. Until then, thank you for watching and goodbye.